They didn't always have hearings, and I think it's very reasonable at this point. And even though Republicans are having hearings and Democrats didn't want to have hearings, I think it's very reasonable to say, well, you know what? We had hearings until you trotted out people who were knowingly false.
Oh, I can't wait for disingenuous, insane takes, insanely hypocritical and insanely disingenuous takes from Steven Crowder as he dunks on like liberals or well-intentioned college freshmen who are like, well, it's kind of up that, you know, we have the most conservative Supreme Court appointment by a president who didn't win the popular election, and that Donald Trump personally, a president who didn't win the fucking popular vote, is going to put in more, is going to now appoint more Supreme Court seats than Democrats did in the past 26 fucking years. Remember, what is it like now? 9? No, not 9. But how many SCOTUS seats have been filled by presidents who did not win the popular vote at this point? And of course, they are Republicans.
False pawns, accusing a man of gang rape, and this is no longer productive. That changes the decorum.
With Brett Kavanaugh, the decorum changed because Brett Kavanaugh had his fifis hurt. Got it.
We're in the midst of an election. We don't know who's going to win. You know, we're hearing like different opinions. We don't know who's going to win. And so I think we should wait till the president is elected or reelected. And second of all, even if it wasn't an election year, as a woman, I don't feel protected or represented by Coney Barrett. ACB is replacing the very woman who did so many amazing things for women's rights and just human rights. As a feminist, she believed in equality.
I'd like to set that aside for a second because there's a difference between you or I not liking a judge or their opinions and, of course, the constitutional authority to appoint and confirm them to the Supreme Court. So
why? Then there's a constitutional authority that was given to the president. There was absolutely a constitutional authority for Barack Obama to appoint Merrick Garland. Then this like constitutional authority concept does not work when you have to recognize that. And then he'll say, well, the Senate was majority Republican at that point, and therefore they had every right to stop this process. That's crazy. It's the same authority. Presidents have the right to appoint Supreme Court justices. It doesn't work that way. If you claim that Democrats are changing the game, then the Republicans originally changed the game. It's all about winning, and Republicans at least understand that.
we can go back to that and those opinions, and I would like to. But the first point you made is that you don't think we should confirm ACB because it's an election year.
Yeah, like not make the decision until whoever's going to be leading us for 4 more years. I think that.
Why?
Because there might be a change.
Okay.
You know, that would be silly for Donald Trump for her to be elected.
So, like, again, if the president has the constitutional authority to appoint or nominate, rather, a Supreme Court justice, and the Senate has the authority to appoint that justice, in this circumstance, what you're basically saying is, like, if there's a majority Senate of the opposite party, then you never have the actual right as a president to ever appoint a Supreme Court justice. That is the precedent that you're setting. So if there's a majority Democrat Senate against a Republican White House, then that means that you can never, ever, ever in a million years ever appoint a Supreme Court justice, because that's the constitutional authority. That's the precedent that you're setting with that constitutional authority. Then they don't have that right. Then you can permanently stop any opposing party member's appointments as long as you maintain the Senate majority. That's a ridiculous precedent to set.
The person who fought so hard for her and even elected her is not even in office anymore.
Well, I don't understand why that would be silly, because the president is president for 4 years.
Yeah, but this term is almost over.
Sure, yeah.
People have started voting. It's insane.
So
I just think that because of an election year, we should wait to who's going to be leading for the next 4 years.
Now, let me ask you this. And I understand, because that's a sentiment that I've heard expressed quite a bit. Do you think that maybe that's been instilled in you, perhaps to a degree, by biased professors or media? Because it's a very...
This is so insane. Like, again, redirecting the conversation to, like, whatever kind of perceived biases she may have is a super disingenuous way to have this conversation. Once again, for those of you, for the only like 3 people that have been living under a rock and are unaware, Steven Crowder is doing exactly what every Republican does, which is go down the dialogue tree of all of the little optional dialogues that they have. And he's not actually there to, newsflash, he's not actually there to have his mind be changed. He's there to dunk on unsuspecting college campus libs who aren't trained to deal with like Heritage Foundation think tank talking points. That's it. That's all it is. The best way to deal with someone like this either is to ignore them or to obsessively know what their talking points are so you can counter them immediately. And most people are not going to do that because they don't have the brain cancer that I do.
Oh, you're such
So
a big son.
it's
GG.
oftentimes just a silly endeavor to engage in. Nice mentality, just ignore the opposition. No, I said if you don't have the same kind of tools that your opposition has, then it's better to ignore them.
What?
The idea that you can't appoint a Supreme Court justice in an election year.
Well,
That's a
this
very
is my
new
second
thing.
election that I've been able.
No, you can absolutely elect the Supreme Court in an election year, and it has been done. And what is it like? Has been done like 29 times or something. The problem is, first of all, this is not we're living now in a post-McConnell era. If you have to reach back to the 18th century, then you're being really disingenuous when you can go back to the past 4 years.
No, I mean, historically, this is a very new idea that a president should only act as president for 3 years. As a matter of fact, RBG, who we both said we've respected, she said that the president, of course, is elected for 4 years and should act as president, and he should absolutely nominate a justice in an election.
Yeah, RBG said that about Merrick Garland, which was denied. So, blood for blood, I think.
When
Do you
did
know how
she
many
write
ti-
that?
She wrote this years ago. Yeah, and she wrote this while Barack Obama was president, I believe, and it was something that was
so
taken from the
long
Supreme
ago.
Court.
We're talking about right now.
No, that's not so long ago. What are the circumstances in which she wrote that? Merrick Garland was also a Supreme Court justice in election year. It's not that long ago. It's 4 to 5 years ago. So if that's the case, then yeah, let's use that as the precedent. You can't literally personally use that as precedent for your argument when she was making that argument, and that argument ultimately was owned in the marketplace of ideas. What happened? It's not like we have another liberal Supreme Court justice. Mitch McConnell personally refused to nominate a Supreme Court justice from the Democratic Party.
Do you know how many times a president has nominated a Supreme Court justice in an election year?
No, I do not.
29 times. Yeah, 29 times.
And they've been elected?
So
You said nominated?
when and that's actually a very good question, because when it's a shared party government, when it's not a divided government, meaning the three
know what it
branches of
means.
government are executive, judicial.
I know what it means.
Well, no, listen, it's okay. I'm not mansplaining. I'm explaining for people watching at home. Judiciary, and that's why I really like this example right now.
Actually
because it's a
doing
perfect
very
example
well.
of This amalgamate that is three branches of government that are equal but separate, and particularly more autonomous is the court. So we have the
Autonomous, my dick, dude. Shut the up. Then abolish the Federalist Society.
name
Jail them,
is
okay? Throw them in jail for being unconstitutional. If it's such an autonomous body, then what the is the Federalist Society, dude? What is this
America
deliberate
deserved
attempt to
9/11.
court pack with conservative justices and conservative judges, elevate them to the highest places in the judiciary?
So yeah, 29 times a president in an election year, an outgoing president, has nominated someone, and when it's been a shared party for president in the legislature, it's confirmed.
It literally doesn't matter. In none of those circumstances, voting had already started, if I'm not mistaken. Voting had already started in this situation. It's already idiotic to look back at that, because once new precedent is established, now this is all for the birds, okay? I'm going to simplify this for you.
Stephen Crowder.
The reality
Moore,
is, this
Shadow.
back and forth conversation about procedure is just for the jurisprudence fetishists. It's bullshit. It's one thing that Republicans constantly and consistently claim that they care about. They don't. All they care about, and I even would go so far as to say admire them for literally doing this, all they care about is winning. All they care about is appointing conservatives to the Supreme Court. All they care about is appointing conservative judges and justices to the to the judiciary. That's all they care about. They will use the procedural burdens against Democrats when they can, and cry foul and play to the mods and play to the referees whenever Democrats even try to do a fraction of what they do regularly. It's complete nonsense. But even from that point of view, even if we were to act like people actually care about the procedure and people actually care about the Constitution, or people actually care about precedents, then talking about what has happened 200 years ago is completely irrelevant, because in the past 4 years, there is new precedent established by Mitch McConnell. You can try to say that in that circumstance, the Senate was Republican, so it was a different party. It doesn't matter. The principle still applies. Either you're saying that as long as there is a opposing party majority in the Senate, the president no longer has the constitutional authority to appoint a Supreme Court justice, or it completely does not matter that they appoint a Supreme Court justice. Either you're saying that, or you're just making up, you're just stretching as hard and as far as you can to find a reason to be like, I like it when my party appoints conservative judges. That's what I want, and I will do everything and anything to appoint them.
She goes against like so much of the progress that we've made from the Supreme Court justice that she's going to be replacing.
Mm-hmm.
That sits okay with you? Do you care about women's rights? And
do I care about women's rights? Of
yes.
course I do.
Okay.
But what does that have to do with confirming Amy Coney Barrett?
Well, I don't think that she's the best fit to begin with.
So is that the litmus
Because
test for
she's
why we
completely
should not
almost a
confirm a
complete
justice?
opposite.
She should ask Steven Crowder why Republicans claimed openly that they would never let Hillary Clinton appoint a Supreme Court justice as long as they maintained majority in the Senate, and what kind of metric or constitutional backing they had to push for that. Because Republicans openly stated at the time when they were running for re-election in the 2016 election, they openly stated, if Hillary Clinton wins, we will never let her get a Supreme Court seat. We will never let her fill that vacancy. No, because both parties want to win. Republicans want to win way more than Democrats do. That's the difference. Is there actually a counter to the fact that McConnell and Republicans set a new precedent with Garland? The only thing that you can do in that circumstance is squirm and be like, well, no, they didn't. They only set a precedent for, the only precedent that they set forward was if there is a different party in power in the Senate that has confirmation power. So if the majority in the Senate is the opposing party, then in that circumstance, in an election year, it's appropriate to stop the president from appointing someone. This argument is nearly as baseless as claiming that you're an originalist. It's idiotic. It's for the birds. It's stupid as fuck. Okay, it's not a real thing. No one is a originalist. Oh, really? You're going to interpret the Constitution, Amy Coney Barrett? You're going to interpret the Constitution as it was intended within the context of that time that it was written? You mean when you were property? No, obviously not. That would be the most psychotic thing that anyone would ever literally. That would imply that you can't be the Supreme Court justice because you're a fucking woman and therefore property of a man. Like, no one is a fucking originalist. And Amy Coney Barrett herself has admitted that there's limitations to the originalist argument in which you are subject to your own personal biases or your own personal interpretation of the law. Everyone does that. Not a single fucking originalist is actually an originalist in any circumstance whatsoever. So that is just as idiotic as like claiming that there is like any sort of precedent for this matter, or that you legitimately care about, I don't know, the procedure, like following the protocol. No, they're just gaming the system. If there is a instance in the future where Republicans don't have the majority in the Senate, but they have the White House, then Democrats try to stop this process, they're going to be crying foul. It doesn't matter. They're not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, the majority Senate right now is Democrat, and another Supreme Court justice died, and Democrats are just not Democrats are not allowing us to push forward a Supreme Court justice. They're not going to sit back and let that happen. They're going to freak out over it, as the Democrats should as well. It's just complete nonsense. Can you inform us better what the Democratic argument is? Is it just people have already voted, so no? If you are so confident in who gets to be, if you are so confident that Donald Trump is going to win, then allow the people to have a say in that. Use that as a cause to champion against. It's absolute nonsense that at a time when people have already started to vote for what the Senate is going to look like, and it's going to literally change on November 3rd, and the president might not even be the president anymore. It's insane that Mitch McConnell is trying to push for this process above all else. That's not a weak argument. That is a totally valid argument. If you truly believe that you were going to win, if you truly believe that you were going to even maintain your majority in the Senate, you wouldn't immediately push for this in a historically fast matter. No Supreme Court appointment has been pushed through in less than 40 days. They kept that Supreme Court seat vacant for 8 months, and now they want to fill it in 40 days? Get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here if you truly believe that. If you are a liberal and you actually believe that, you are a moron, okay? I'm sorry. Why does it matter if the people have voted? Last I checked, the president's term is 4 years, not 3 years and 8 months. Yeah, then Obama should have been able to appoint another Supreme Court justice in the election year then. Bad take, lol? It's not a bad take. If the president serves their term 4 years for 4 years, then Obama should have been able to appoint a Supreme Court justice. He wasn't able to because Republicans blocked the process. But Obama didn't have a majority that Trump has. The two situations are not comparable. No, the two situations are not comparable only because you are refusing to, only because you're changing the rules. If the president constitutionally has a right to appoint a SCOTUS and you are saying no in an election year when you have a Republican majority, you're changing the rules. You're changing the precedent. You're now saying that the president can appoint a Supreme Court. And now, next time around, judging with that precedent, whenever there's a majority in the Senate of the opposing party, then the president no longer has the right to appoint a Supreme Court justice. That's basically what you're saying. We can use the McConnell rule and then the swap this time around of the McConnell rule to be like, okay, as long as there's a majority of the opposing party in the Senate, no longer will you be able to ever appoint a Supreme Court justice. I don't give a fuck what the Constitution says. You're confusing nominate and appoint. One is done by the president and the other by the Senate. It doesn't matter. What you're failing to recognize is just because the president nominates someone and the Senate doesn't appoint it, you're basically claiming that it's over. As long as there is a majority of the opposing party, they will always say, well, the president has a constitutional right to nominate. That doesn't mean the Senate majority is going to appoint. Sorry. ACB is a good person. When you adopt your third kid from Haiti, I'll listen to your opinion on who should get the seat. Really? That's your metric for success? Like, that's your metric for someone's a good person? I mean, you sound pretty liberal, brother. That's some real lib shit right there. That's some classic lib identity politics shit.
And if you're the Senate, you confirm or you reject. That's what you do.
Okay.
So I don't understand the reasoning, I guess.
That is a good point. I'm thinking.
But,
yeah, he's just using the sucks to suck argument here. The only counter you can have to that in this circumstance is basically to say, okay, then you are setting a dangerous and literally unconstitutional precedent. And that is, if you care so much about precedent and if you care so much about, fetishizing jurisprudence and normalcy in the way that you are arguing, then you have to recognize anytime there is a Senate majority of the opposing party, you have now created a circumstance where no president will ever be able to appoint a Supreme Court justice, no matter when.
I think this matters. I think we would both agree that transparency matters in a presidency, right? Yeah. President Trump released his list of potential Supreme Court justices before he was president, and then he re-released it while he was president. Joe Biden hasn't released any. He said he'll only do it after election. Just like we'd have to find out his opinion on court packing until after the election.
Unrelated to the conversation, there are numerous other problems with court packing. There's the filibuster. There is whether or not there's going to be a majority in the Senate, what kind of majority we're going to have in the Senate. There's so many different conversations to have before we even get to court packing. And it's a complete misdirection. Whenever Republicans try to do this, remember, Republicans love court packing. And for them to act like this is a serious conversation, a serious threat to American democracy, whether we're going to have more Supreme Court justices or not, is insane. It's idiotic. It's nonsensical. It's just a misdirection. Do not forget this.
So do you mean that the court is not complete unless there is specifically...
I just wanted to... There will never be another Ruth Bader Ginsburg, so I shouldn't hope for one.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
There will never be
Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't even that hot, dude. Like, who cares?
Another Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It'll never be another Scalia either. Yeah, I think that's true, and I think she was a formidable woman in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there will be another Scalia. Exactly. Amy Coney Barrett is worse than Scalia. Also, Antonin Scalia is a pig. Ugh. Ew. Yikes. I might disagree with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Actually, you know what? Fuck Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was best friends with Antonin Scalia, and that guy is a hog, okay?
And I think that a lot of people sort of buy into this mythos of RBG.
And ACB is worse than Scalia,
where she lined up on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but she said that Roe v. Wade...
Yeah, she didn't agree with it completely. I know.
Yeah.
What did I tell you? I told you that they're going to use Ruth Bader Ginsburg's criticisms of Roe v. Wade. Ruth Bader's criticisms of Roe v. Wade is that there's a better circumstance to defend Roe v. Wade. That was it. That was her argument against Roe v. Wade. Not that it's bad, okay? Okay, whatever.
And she was vehemently against packing the courts. Very much so.
Vehemently against packing the courts. Okay, fuck Ruth Bader Ginsburg, okay? I don't give a fuck.
But I think the best way we can at least honor RBG is to honor her written and expressed wishes, which is don't...
To honor her written and expressed wishes. Oh, God, it's so disingenuous. What a disingenuous and disgusting way to argue, dude. I don't give a fuck about RBG's written or unwritten rules, okay? Suck my cock, you pussy-ass, mask-wearing, ugly-ass motherfucker. Yeah, she said don't pick my successor until after the election, but the Republican concept is like it wasn't written, so maybe it's a lie. You know that, right? That's why he's saying that. That's why he's using RBG's like takes when she was alive and like written takes against her now, against her final wishes, because they don't care about anything, and you shouldn't either. Whatever part of your brain that creates this notion that like Republicans aren't fucking demons, you need to cast that out. Okay? They are demons. They are vultures. They will do whatever it takes to win. Okay? This is a perfect example of this. The reason why he's mentioning her written takes is because he will then inevitably say, well, we don't know for a fact whether Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually wanted to, halt the process because she didn't write it on a piece of paper, and that, it was her daughter that said that she didn't want anyone to be appointed during this election cycle. So it's bullshit. There's no high road with these scum f***ers, okay? They will sell out their own children. They will sell out their own future in an effort to win a marginal argument.
She's a constitutionalist. Okay, hold on. So this isn't someone who is nearly as much of a judicial act.
Again, no, constitutionalism is a lie. That's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. She's property then, okay? Steven Crowder, she's property and you don't exist. As a bi man, you no longer have any rights, and she is a woman, so she can't be the Supreme Court justice, okay? I'm an originalist, sorry.